So, as you know, I work with expectant and new parents, and one of the things that we've spoken about in the past was like the importance of getting a will in place, because I think it's something that really gets overlooked, especially when people become parents for the first time. There's a lot going on. This is where you come in. What would be your advice?
If people have children, then you should always have a will in place. It's super important. And then sadly it's put down the list because you're busy doing nappies, you're busy cleaning up sick.
Everybody's tired.
You're tired because you don't have lack of sleep. That will bit, when you're told by the mortgage advisor or you're told by your mum and dad you need to get a will in place, or your friends, it's just lost in that list of things to do. It's super important. It really is. You want to know if you pass away that your children are going to go to who you want them to go to, and not let the family courts decide where they go. And even if that's for one night or 2 nights, no, you want that will in place to be naming guardians. It's so important. And
that's an important thing, because I think in conversations I've had with parents, I think the assumption is always that the children will go to a next of kin, and there are huge assumptions made about this, but the reality is that it can be really very, very different.
And you want to choose who you want them to go to as well. It might be that yes, they do end up going to a grandparent, but that might not be the grandparent you want them to go to. So you're able to name and make sure that they're going to go where you want them to go to. It's so important, and people don't. It's getting that message out there to people. It's super important that people realise that if you've got kids, you need a will. I didn't know that. Nobody told me that until my kids were like not children, like babies anymore. They were 7 and 10 maybe that I ended up doing it, and since I've sort of come into doing this, because nobody told me that. I didn't. And when I did do it, before I'd done it, it was on that to-do list. I was too busy. I was working. I had 2 kids to bring up. So it's super important. The guardians, naming in a will, definitely. If we can get the message out to people about that, then brilliant.
So on a practical level, what's the process? Like, is it laborious? Is it, do people have to give up a lot of time to get this sorted? I know it's important, but when it's at the bottom of your list, people need to know that it could be done kind of quite promptly.
Not at all. And quite often at the end of an appointment or the process, they'll say, oh my god, so that was dead straightforward, that took no time at all. If it's a dead basic will, it will only take 30 minutes, 40 minutes. Now, I like chatting. You like chatting. You know that because we met before. So sometimes a will will take longer because we're busy chatting away, but that's part of it, and it's nice. I've got to know quite a bit of information about people, so some people are a bit, who's this person that's asking all these questions, but half an hour, 45, it depends on the circumstances, and it depends on how much people want to know and how much detail they want to go into asking questions, but generally speaking 30 minutes to 45 minutes.
Because I can imagine it can start as something basic, and then depending on what the needs are, it could become something bigger depending on what somebody's individual circumstances are.
And everybody's circumstances are different. So, for example, I'm divorced, and I didn't realise when I was separating that I should have done a will immediately to make sure that my ex-husband now, at the time he was a husband, was excluded. Now again, not many people know, not many people don't know or aren't told, flagged up that actually, right, okay, you're not together anymore, do that because you don't want him getting or her getting something that you don't want them to get. You want it to go to your kids. So it's just educating people and making people aware of it. The process, the actual will taking bit takes about 30 to 40 minutes, but there's a bigger picture. It's not just there's your will, that's it, you're done. We make sure that there's a process of making sure that they have other things in place as well, because they all sort of come together. So we're talking about kids. What do you have in place for your kids if something was to happen to you and your husband or wife or partner? You're both not there. Are they going to go to somebody's house with an empty suitcase for them to then start paying out, because we know how expensive kids are. £200 for a pair of trainers I paid the other week. It's expensive. So it's just being aware of it, and people, again, bottom of the list, I'll do it, I'll get round to it, we'll get round to it at some point. So I chat to people beforehand as well. So what I try and do is let them have that conversation with me before. I then say, right, these are your options, this is what you've got, this is what it would cost to do that. Then they can make more informed decisions. So I'm not just going into the appointment and saying, right, wham, 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 this is what it's going to be.
So you'll have a conversation before
100%.
the actual appointment, so that they know what the appointment's for and how long it's going to be, and so that, and I know it sounds like it's really silly, but it's those details that mean that people know what to expect, therefore they can give up an hour of their time. It's done, it's off the tick list, and their family is protected.
Definitely. And once I take the instruction, I then send them to somebody to check it. Sometimes if it's dead straightforward, we can check it together at the appointment, and then the payment's made depending on what it is they need to do. It then gets processed, and within 3 to 4 days, generally speaking, that is then processed and it's then sent in the post, recorded delivery to them.
And so again, a practical point, the appointments can be online or face to face.
Good question. So obviously through COVID, Google Meet, Zoom became, we're all used to that now. That's you know, it's the norm in the sense, isn't it? It's fine. Whereas before that, it probably would have been more central to Newcastle. Whereas now, I've got clients down in Brighton, I've got clients in Wales, I've got up in Scotland.
So it can be across the UK.
Yeah, totally. And people are not bothered. Like, I spoke to somebody this morning from Berwick, and yes, I can come and see you, but it's going to be a day's driving up and getting back. Fine, Jill, we'll do Google Meet, it's not a problem. So people are quite happy doing that. And when they've spoken to somebody else that's had it done by us, or it's that word of mouth, isn't it? And then they sort of know who you are. People sort of trust the fact that you're going to be doing a good job for them. So that I would say, that's the sort of process that it takes for
I think
the will part.
The take home from me from talking to you previously and today is, bottom line, make a will.
If you've got anything to leave, you want to make a will.
Make a will. If you've got children, which is who this is aimed at, is, you know, make sure there's somebody named as a guardian if the worst should happen and you're either very ill or no longer here. Because I guess that is important even if somebody ends up in hospital. Is that covered then? What if somebody has a car crash and then parents they're still alive but they're not there? Is that covered?
The will's for when you pass away.
Okay.
So we then get in the realms of lasting power of attorneys.
Oh yeah. So
that's
what I mean about but some people would want that, I guess, wouldn't they? So that's something
totally. And I always mention it now. I didn't at the start, but I always do now. So you've got the will for when you've passed away and you're not here anymore. And you've got lasting power of attorneys for while you're still alive. I use Kate Garraway as an example, and it's awful what happened with her and Derek. But at the end of the day, they didn't have those things in place. She had to go through the court of protection, which costs a lot of money and takes a lot more time to then be able to make those decisions on her husband's behalf, basically. So power of attorneys are super important. I always mention them now, regardless of the person's age, because people associate them with old people. And somebody that's got dementia. Get it done then. No, that's too late. That's too, and don't leave it till then. You need to have these things in place. So when I'm speaking to younger ones, I always say, have you had a conversation with your mum and dad, with your grandparents? Do they know? Do you know if you've signed a bit of paper to say you're their attorney? I'm not sure. You know, so go and ask that question. Use this as an excuse that you've done your will to have that, because it's not. You know what we're like. We're British. We don't like talking about these things.
No, we don't. It's very uncomfortable.
It's put under the totally, yes, but it shouldn't be because you know, I wouldn't do this as a job if I was sitting morbid every day, talking about death, talking about not nice things. It's not.
But we need to be prepared for that, because it comes.
Exactly. So, and I know this sounds a bit silly when I'm saying it, but we can have a bit of often I'm laughing out loud when I'm doing will appointments. You know, the pets thing, leaving your pets to whoever, it always gets a bit of a giggle and a laugh. Or when the husband wants to leave what did he want? Somebody recently wanted to leave the whole of the contents of a garage. And the wife was delighted because she said, well, that saves me having to deal with it. So there's just different things, you know, it's light-hearted. Totally. To make it as light-hearted as you can, because it's a difficult thing to talk about.
So I'm going to put together some blog posts. So we're going to do it about making a will, about, I'm going to add in lasting power of attorney as well. I'm also going to do a blog post about if you should separate and changing a will or getting a new will if that should happen.
See it as a working document. So a will is a working document. A life event happens. You revisit it and you think, you know what, does that need looked at? Does it need tweaked? Does it need changed? It might be when somebody's younger that they just want the basic will, which names the guardians, because that's the key thing when you've got little ones. As time goes by, they might want to put trusts in place, which then protects from marriage after death, care home fees, all those types of things. But ultimately, get the ball rolling by getting something in place. Something is better than nothing.
Okay.
Definitely.
Yeah, right. I'm going to get on with those. I'm going to get on with those blog posts.
Keep you busy for a wee while.
I'll keep you busy. But then at least then families have got somewhere that they can come and have a look.
Definitely, and I always say no question's a stupid question.
Yeah.
You know, ask a question.
Yeah.
If you don't know the answer, you're not stupid not knowing it. It's important that people can go somewhere to know that they can get asked a question.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely.
And if those posts have the basic information on there, then if with your contact details, they can just get in touch
Definitely.
with whatever questions they've got, and then set
100%.
themselves up with an appointment.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
That's all right.
Thanks.
Thank you.